Now this week, President Tinubu's special advisor on media and policy communication, Dr. Daniel Bwala, held a meeting with the leadership of the Christian Association of Nigeria, or CAN. But the fact that the meeting took place is one of the few areas that the two sides agree on. Beyond that, differing versions of what transpired are emerging. According to the government, the leadership of CAN, led by its president, Reverend Dr. Daniel Oko, thanked President Tinubu for engaging the Christian community, particularly on the so-called Christian genocide narrative. Well, shortly after that statement was released, CAN issued an unequivocal rebuttal, denying that it had referred to a so-called genocide and making it ineluctably clear that its position is that across many parts of northern Nigeria and the Middle Belt, Christian communities have suffered repeated, organized and brutal attacks which have left thousands dead, villages destroyed and families displaced. These are not isolated crimes, it said, but a continuing pattern of violence that has persisted for years without justice or closure. It said it was alarmed by Daniel Bwala's press statement. So what exactly transpired at that meeting? Well, for more on this, I'm joined now in the studio by President Tinubu's special advisor on media and policy communication, Dr. Daniel Bwala. How nice to see you again.
Thank you. My pleasure.
It's been a while. I started feeling like you were avoiding us.
Not at all. Not at all. Everything is going great.
Well, good to see you.
Thank you.
Now, what specifically did you, and by extension the Tinubu administration, set out to achieve with your visit to the Secretariat of the Christian Association of Nigeria?
So thank you for having. First of all, Christian Association of Nigeria was not the first organization we visited. A few days prior, we visited the Pentecostal Fellowship of Nigeria. And then we took a step to meet with the Christian Association of Nigeria. And in the coming days, we are going to meet with the Conference of Bishops of Nigeria, Charismatic Bishops of Nigeria. The visit is more than just a familiarization tour. It's a visit to be able to engage and continue the dialogue around and I want to repeat it, around the so-called genocide campaign that was started far away from the shores of Nigeria by Senator Ted Cruz. And we have our in-depth reason as to reason why he pushed that narrative. But we had a very good engagement with the Christian Association, and by extension, I'm a member, being a Christian. And it was a very fruitful meeting in which I stayed from the video, if you play it, or anybody who sees it, from the beginning. And I've always said that in all of our engagement. We have not come to seek the endorsement of that body. We have not come to change their mind. We already know what their position is. CAN had already issued a position prior, saying that they believe there is a Christian genocide. Even when we had the first visit with PFN, they said that they are very excited about coming, but as of today, their position stands that they are not deviating from their parent body. So nobody is in doubt as to the position of CAN that they believe there is a Christian genocide. Now, why we say dialogue is important is that we went to tell them from the government side, we hold a strong belief there is no genocide of Christians. There are insecurity situations across Nigeria in which all citizens of Nigerians have been affected, but certainly not a religious base. And it is okay to disagree and still continue the dialogue. So there is no problem, as it were, with the position they are having and the position we're holding. But if you bring facts on the table, fact against fact, even on the evidence of the report upon which they form their opinion, which I will tell you tonight, that there is nothing suggestive or the fact that there is a Christian genocide in Nigeria.
Yeah, but I don't think that's the issue that they're concerned about.
Right.
The issue in their statement, and I'm looking at that statement now, is that they're saying that your press statement, these are their words, that your report falsely suggested that the CAN president, Archbishop Daniel Oko, dismissed or downplayed the ongoing killing by describing them as a so-called Christian genocide. And they're saying that they didn't do that.
The so-called Christian genocide is what has been in the air while he was reacting to what we term as the so-called genocide. He now gave his remarks. Now, in that same press statement that we released, and I urge Nigerians to read, everything he said was captured there. Everything he said. But in addition to it, we also have an audio-visual, a video, in which everything he said is contained in that. In which one, he said that CAN maintained their previous position as expressed in their statement.
Yeah, but as I said, that's not the issue. I mean, you're quoting those things. That is not their issue. Their issue is that you referred to them as saying that it's a so-called Christian genocide.
Did not.
And they said, let me just make the point, they said that portrayal, this is their press release, is completely false and grossly unfair.
That's their opinion.
The meeting was recorded by CAN's media team, and at no point did Archbishop Oko use such words or express such a view.
Yes.
Referring to the tragedy as a so-called genocide trivializes the pain of countless Christians who have lost loved ones, homes, and places of worship in targeted attacks.
You see,
that's the point they're making.
It would have made sense if you say trivializing killings and insecurity. That means you are you are abusing the sensitivity of Nigerians. Then we would, if we had said so, we would feel bad about that, which we never did. But if it is because we said the so-called Christian genocide, I want to say for the opt-in time, I still maintain the narrative that there is a Christian genocide is a so-called is false, misleading, agenda-based, and tended towards destroying this country. So
to be honest with you, Daniel, there are a lot of people in this country who would agree with your assessment. But that's not the issue. The issue is that you took those words according to CAN, because I wasn't at the meeting. You took those words and put it in their mouths.
No, so what they, no, that's not what
in other words, you put it in quotes. You said, you described them, you quoted Archbishop Daniel Oko as describing them as a so-called Christian genocide. And that's where they have a problem.
So there is a problem of understanding. And with the deepest regret, it is sad that they can go that far. Because if we intended to get them to cause something like that, would we have issued the statement in which everything they said was contained there? Would we have released the video in which everything... You see, let us not politicize this issue. I want a constructive dialogue. If you want me to prove to you that there is no Christian genocide, I can prove it to you based, even in fact, on their own report. You see, everybody has to have a premise for taking a position. The report they relied on, because I didn't even know. So in the course of our conversation, the director of media, I think he's an archbishop, and with the greatest respect to them, he now asked me, have you by chance come across a report by Observatory for Religious Freedom in Nigeria? And I've never come across that. So he read certain facts from his phone, from that report. Then I told him I undertake that I will go into, I will read the report. Honestly, when I read this report, that report strengthens our own case as a governor, as a government. Let me even tell you briefly. First of all, because I'm a researcher, I love research. Anybody who believes in research will look at the methodology of the research. In the methodology of that research, they said, number one, they received data, one, from their own researchers, from local media, from NGO, and then the third one, they said development partners whose names are withheld for security reasons. In that same report, they said that it is, in fact, the development partners in the course of the research that raised the issue of religion in the research because older partners did not capture it. Meaning that the identity you are hiding is the identity that included the research to look at how many Christians are killed or not. And we'll come to that in 1 minute. Now, look at the entirety of the report. This is what the report says. First, the report captured 1st October 2019 to September 2023. And in the whole of the span of this period, there is only 4 months that affected the government of President Bwala Tinubu. And they have not released data that suggests that within this period, insecurity has increased to a point where it justifies the narrative that there is a Christian genocide. In other words, I am using the report of yesterday to judge this president. But let's take it a step further. Even in the context of that report, they said Muslims are killed by the same groups that kill Christians. Muslims are abducted by the same group that abducted Christians, except in their proportion. Then in proportion, they will say, let's say in proportion, say 70% of Christians, 40% of Muslims, 20% of Christians, 15 or 7% of Muslims. Can you, in all honesty, in a research where you bring it on the proportionate level of percentage, now go ahead in the same sentence to establish genocide? Genocide is an intentional killing of a group because of their identity. In most cases, it is by state, but the intent has to be established that there is a coordinated. And Senator Ted Cruz said there is a Christian genocide in Nigeria and the government is partaking in it.
Yeah, I think that's where the issue, some people will have issue with it. You see what I mean?
And that's the only case
I think that's where some people would have issue with it. But as far as from their point of view, the Christian Association of Nigeria and a lot of other people, from the point of view of the jihadists who are carrying out these killings and so on, their position is clear that they want to, according to the Can people, that they want to eliminate those Christians and take over their villages.
So what they can, if they ever say that.
But I think a lot of people would certainly concede to you that there does not appear to be any clearly discernible evidence to suggest that it is a policy of government.
One.
Yeah.
But today, I have never been pushing that argument. I just stop at the level, government is not a part of the genocide. But since they have now told me the source of their opinion, I studied that source. Even the case there, even the outcome, and everybody can read it. It's in their website, Observatory for Religious Freedom in Africa.
Yeah, but that's one of their sources, according to them.
I mean, in the meeting,
that might have been one they cited to you, but there are innumerable other instances.
And that organization,
including evidence from the people who are in villages that were attacked.
The evidence is contained in that report. And they said, first of all, that organization was founded in Holland. And they said it is to observe religious freedom in Africa. But the only research it has done is in Nigeria.
Well, I mean, that might have been a weak thing, but that does not downplay the significance of the killings of so many people who are of Christian backgrounds in certain parts of Nigeria.
But you're still making the point. We are all at Edom as to the fact that there has been over the years the killing of Nigerians. Even their report says the killing that has more proportionate number is the killing of people who have not identified as Christians.
Well, I mean, according to the press release, because I haven't seen the report you're talking about. I mean,
I forwarded it to a producer.
The Christian Association of Nigeria noted in their press release that both Christians and Muslims have suffered from insecurity, adding that the current they're quoting you, actually. They're quoting you, apologies. They're saying that you noted that both Christians and Muslims have suffered, but Can made it clear that its position on the issue has long been established and remains unchanged. But I mean, we've kind of made that point.
Right.
What I need to ask you is, are you surprised? Because I mean, your meeting, you sent me your press releases, you sent photos and so on. It seemed to be a convivial meeting. I mean, are you surprised by the strong reaction that your visit has generated from Can?
To be honest, I was dead surprised. All of our meetings have been productive. As a matter of fact, when we went to them, we went knowing already what their position is. And we told them from the beginning, we have not come to change your position. As a government, we come to engage. We come to tell you what the position of the government is, the effort the government is making, and to take from you whatever frustration, challenges, or expectation that you have. Now, when we release this information, I personally send them to them. The secretary now sent a communication to me suggesting that they were not comfortable with that. I put a call through immediately. And I established to them that I have sent you the entire report of what transpired. He acknowledged. I even sent a video that captured everything you said. He acknowledged. He now said the problem they had is with the construction of that so-called genocide. Then he appreciated the fact that I called and I engaged. And we ended the call like that. Nowhere have they told me they were going to issue.
Yeah, but did they use the term so-called genocide?
No, the chairman never said that.
Right.
I am saying
because the press release suggests that he did.
So if that's that, with apologies.
Right.
But our position is quite clear.
Right.
We, as a government, maintain the narrative that there is a Christian genocide is so-called because it is not the truth, it's false, it is agenda-based, and we know that our problem is not even with the Christian community in Nigeria. They were not the ones that sparked the conversation. It is from America. I went to France, and we're going all over the world to counter this disinformation. We know it's fake news and all of that, and we are basing on facts. The other time I debunk the premise on Ted Cruz's position, he relied on a report by an organization called Civil Liberties. That Civil Liberties report never mentioned at all the killings in the Southeast by IPOB. The same with this report that they are relying on. There is no reference to IPOB, and killings in IPOB were downplayed.
But is there a sense that the government disproportionately does not seem to care? And that is validated by their observations of the way the crisis has been handled and appears to be getting worse, not better.
So, to be fair to them, they didn't say that. In fact, both PFN and CAN made it clear that the president inherited the insecurity situation. It never started with him. Both of them.
Right.
They now say they tax on the president to do more. In the case of PFN, they even said they believe this president has the capacity to end it. And they said the president should invest. They talk about technology. They gave their recommendation. That's what dialogue and engagement is. In the case of CAN, they said they have a position they've made. They can't go against that position. However, they appreciate what the president is doing. They welcome this engagement that has not happened before. They even invited me for their subsequent meeting to talk to a bigger congregation. So it is a successful meeting. It is regrettable that that issue was taken and they made a mess out of it.
But do you agree that what they're saying about what's happening in northern Nigeria has a certain validity?
No.
You don't agree?
So let me tell you.
Because to them, let me just make this point, to them, Christians in that region are vanishing beyond the horizon, and there doesn't seem to be a reckoning about that. The government, which has a moral and legal obligation to stop the violence, doesn't seem to be doing so.
No.
And that is a big test for everything that you as a government are doing, because you're trying to fix the economy, you're trying to stabilize the currency and so on and so forth, but failing to end what Can described as organized, brutal attacks against Christians in many parts of northern Nigeria and the Middle Belt renders everything else you're doing somewhat unrequited.
So let's assume that what they said government is not doing to stop the killings of Christians in the northern Nigeria. How about the killings of Muslims in the northwestern Nigeria? I mean, as a government, we don't look at insecurity from religious point of view. Our duty is to preserve and protect the life of any and every citizen of Nigeria. The government effort in fighting insecurity is even obvious to the blind. The investment we are making in insecurity, in developing that, the strides. We captured the leaders of insurgents and Boko Haram. We have seen the surrendering of, bandits. We have seen the recovery of people that were abducted. We have seen the destruction of the commanders of Boko Haram. You have to look at the territorial geography of Nigeria, right? You have to look at the investment. We have to less than $35 billion as a budget for everything else. This is what you're dealing with. America, the strongest economy on earth today, the crime rate in America is more than the crime rate in Nigeria.
Yeah, but maybe, because you made some good points there. I mean, but maybe where the government is missing the mark is that, as you said, they're not looking at it from the point of view of religion. In other words, that there's a targeted attack against people of a particular religion. Maybe if you did, then it would lift the scales. You see what I mean? And you'd be able to say, well, wait a minute, maybe our approach to this is wrong. What I wanted to ask you is, what do you think the government should do to restore trust in the face of this hostility and this brutal hatred and this despair that they say people in that region are facing?
So we're engaging and we're communicating. We have recently, I gave you a good example, which supports our case, is not religious based. We have seen the arrest of criminals in both Plateau and Benue that were classified in the generic term as the killing of Christians. But when the arrests were made, we have seen Christians inside. Let us face insecurity as insecurity. In terms of what is the government doing, that visit we took is part of the constructive engagement to get feedback from them. And we are very grateful to them, both CAN, PFN, and then we are going to see the Conference of Charismatic Bishops to get a feedback from them. We have seen recommendation in that. We are working with that. That's what government is. We are accountable
Indeed.
to the people. And we also pray that people will not play politics with that. They will also appreciate the effort government is making. I talked to them about intelligence gathering in that meeting. I talked to them about gathering of local militias for vanguard and self-defense. I talked to them about the plight of the country. We have porous border. We have large population. We have limited budget. We have limited number of personnel in the army, in law enforcement. And spreading all of that. Insecurity cannot be ended tomorrow morning. But government is making effort. One of the ways I told them we can nip it in the bud all over the world is intelligence. Once you get information and you notify government, hold them to account whether they act on it or not. But if your focus creates blindness, as I'm looking at you, I'm not looking behind me. And so also is the armed forces and law enforcement. If you put the concentrated number here and you don't have enough in ungoverned spaces, criminal tendencies and crime is likely to occur. So this administration, the difference between President Bwala Tinubu, quite frankly, and others, is that President Bwala Tinubu is open to dialogue, is open, that's why he sent us. He's open to dialogue, he's open to constructive engagement. He always tells the Nigerian people, be patient with me, I'm fixing this, I'm fixing that, we'll glide. That is the posture of leadership.
So have you engaged with Senator Ted Cruz in America?
So the thing is that in the coming days, I'm traveling to the state to meet with Senator John Thune. Senator John Thune is the majority leader of the Senate. In fact, the ranking senator. In fact, if not because Donald Trump had come for the second time, the establishment wanted to present him as the presidential candidate. He has the ears of the president. So we will engage with them. I also, in the communication I had with his office, I said we also want to have a meeting with the chairman of the Committee on Foreign Relations. These are the people that we are meeting, government institutions. These individuals that are pushing this narrative are not in the executive branch of government. They are APAC-backed senators who are pushing this narrative, including falsehood, in the hope that they will rile up President Trump to designate Nigeria as CPC. You know the way the Trump is and his character. If he has believed them, 3 weeks ago he would have put Nigeria under CPC. So we are not bothered about government to government. We are now taking our message. In the past, what used to happen in Nigeria is whenever this kind of false allegation comes, Nigerians will be looking for lobby in the US. No, you match up the Western disinformation. When Donald Trump first said fake news media, we never believed under the heaven that you can call a legacy media fake news. But now we know better. The manipulation of algorithm that can rile up certain sentiments
but
in the
him
media.
calling them fake news doesn't mean they're fake.
Many have been established subsequently as fake news media.
I would take it with a pinch of salt.
I know, because that's your industry. But what I'm saying, I know it's your industry.
Ouch.
Arise Television is not a fake news television.
Well,
I have to make
you.
that clear.
Yeah.
But although there is a program within the Arise that is fake news, but generally it is not. So, but what I'm saying is that they are not fake news. They are my friends. Otherwise, tomorrow they'll put it on stories trending.
No, don't worry. We're all chums, but we try to focus on the issues at hand.
Let me be honest with you, Mr. Charles. There is a coordinated agenda against Nigeria. Those who have knowledge of intelligence can tell. This is intended to destabilize Nigeria. And religion has always been the instrument. We have never denied that there has been in the past when it started, the targeted killing of Christians and the burning of churches because data suggests. So even when they did the report from 2019 to 2023, it is not a period when President Tinubu is there. So how are you using exams of Nnamdi Azikiwe University?
Well, it's a continuum, isn't it? Government is a continuum, and it's the same APC party.
No, but it is wrong to say that the Christian genocide is supported by government. It's unfair.
No. Well, nobody's saying that is accurate or fair.
Right.
The point really is just the period that you're talking about. I mean, if they went from 2019 to 2023 or whatever, I mean, it's not really any consolation to the people who've suffered, to separate which government.
But when it comes to intelligence,
people are getting killed.
I get your point. Yeah. But when it comes to intelligence assessment, if you are assessing me, you cannot use data that I have no control over to assess me. You can only assess me on the basis of data that I have control over and assess whether I utilize the data right or wrong. Right. So perspective, even in the production of report regarding something, is critical. But to use yesterday's crime and then say this president is liable, that is the point of disagreement. So we agree with all of them. There has been insecurity.
Okay.
They have acknowledged we are making the effort. Our own disagreement is that we say government is not involved in it, and they say they agree with this other element who said the government is in it. And it's okay for us to disagree. And
I don't think they said the government is in it. They just said that they quarrel with the fact that you described it as a so-called genocide. Genocide doesn't have to be government policy. It can be, people who are dedicated to eliminating another group. And that's an example of genocide.
But when it qualifies as a genocide, that is a decisive case of the Supreme Court of the United States. When it qualifies as a genocide, there must have been the element of the state backing it.
Well, again, as I said, it's a matter of an armed group that has the capacity to impose its will willy-nilly on a group of people, and to systematically eliminate those
people.
The
data they are holding,
that's what they're talking about.
And what we are saying is that the data they are running with does not support what they say.
Right, okay. Well,
the data said, before you close, the data said there have been in a whole more killings of people who have not identified as Christians or Muslim. 1. 2, there is a killing of Christians and Muslims largely conducted by the same group that killed either of the two, but the proportion is that there are more Christians than Muslims. How can that qualify as genocide?
Right. Okay, we shall leave it at that. Daniel, please come back and talk to us again after you've come back from your overseas tryst. Let me put it that way. Dr. Daniel Bwala is President Tinubu's Special Advisor on Media and Policy Communication. Good to see you again.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot. Yes.